Hey, Dr. Juice here. Another episode of Juice TV. You know, those salmon are fun. It's this time of year. The salmon are coming up and spawning. They're following the odor of their conspecifics up the rivers. Out on the west coast, they can go up 1,500 miles up into the mountains in Idaho out of the Pacific after having been over in Japan. I'm telling you, they can really travel. Right here you can see they really want to get up and spawn. And I'm going to tell you a little bit later exactly where this is, because in the next 2 to 3 weeks you're going to be able to stand there and watch these salmon. It's really fun. You can stand on a cliff there and cheer for them. You know, only maybe 50% make it on any one try. The current all depends on the height of the current. Those fish are following odors. And my tip for today is how to fish in the current. Now, we're in a river right here, in a pool and rapids coming up. Salmon and steelhead come through here. But where you start fishing when you're using the Dr. Juice is at the tail out. You don't fish at the head end. Well, you might ask why. Well, too often I've fished at the head end. Those fish are coming up mostly during the night. They lay in the deep pool, and guys could be fishing there on top of the fish that are kind of in the doldrums. They're not really feeding, they're on a spawning run. And so if you come upstream and you got your Dr. Juice fish scent and you got it on your yarn, put mine on yarn or even on spawn, because spawn can leach out the odors. But the reason you start at the tail end, because when you start at the head end, the scent goes down through the current, stimulates those fish that were already in front of those other fishermen. They start catching the fish. And you don't want that. So you start at the tail out, and then as people leave, you kind of creep your way up. So as soon as your Dr. Juice lure goes by them, it's going to excite them and you're going to catch them. And the Dr. Juice, you can put it on lures, you can put it on spinners, you can put it on lures. The thing with the hard baits, the thing with using yarn and you put it on the eggs, because that leaches out odor. One of the reasons eggs are so effective is they have their own odor. Okay, but you got a little piece of yarn on there, it's going to hold that scent for a while. The other thing with yarn is it sticks in their teeth. Steelhead are notorious for feeling the bite. It'll give you a little extra second to feel the bite. The mesh on the bag can do that, sponge can do it, but yarn is best. Plus, it holds the scent. Now the same thing holds true out in the lake. In Lake Superior, we've got prevailing currents that are different in the summer and the winter along the North Shore. Oh, he bit me, ow. Okay, that's the deal with filming out here in the wild. Anyway, well, there he is again. You get out of here. Look it. Okay, now just ignore him. That's what I tell everybody else. Right. Okay, so the current in the river. Doggone guy. There, I hit him in the eyeball. Okay, the current in the lake. Okay, so a lot of times fishing can be pretty good and the current is going along. Again, when you're fishing and there's a bunch of guys like this out there, you know, you want to start downstream from them, down current. You don't want to start up in the head end and excite those fish that are in front of these fishermen, especially when there's that many. You're down current, you can creep your way up through them, and if there's a fish out there in front, he's going to get excited when you come along with your Dr. Juice fish scent. Okay, now the other thing with current out in the lake is for trolling, is to make sure you're trolling at the right speed and know where the current is going. Okay, with downriggers, you can tell the angle. You can use a protractor. There's a number of things for sale that'll tell you at this angle and that many feet, that's what the current is. Because if your GPS says 2 miles an hour going north, and the current's going 2 miles an hour north, your lure is hanging like this. No action. Okay, you want to know what that depth is. There are other instruments, like the Fish Hawk is a great one. It lets you know what that speed is down at depth, and so you can tell. Another method besides a protractor and expensive electronics, is the bubbles on the downrigger wire. You got your downrigger wire going down, and you watch it. Okay, the bubbles will go down 8 to 10 inches, and then they'll release and they'll float up. Okay, that's about the right speed, your 1.8 to 2.2 miles an hour. That will give you determining the bubbles. The same thing happens in the ocean with the tides. Again, you can watch for those bubbles on the downrigger wire. The other thing in the ocean that I learned down in the Bahamas is that scent is real important there. And we use conch anchors. I've learned this from the natives. And you tie 4 or 5 conchs together on a line, use it as an anchor. One reason, you can get it out of the coral. A Danforth will get stuck. Also, when it's down there, you can jiggle it, make the sound, like on the Talk with Fish underwater speaker, on our apps, on the Android and Apple stores. There is a conch anchor sound on those 70 different fish calls, because that sound will bring the fish in. But the other thing, they shove the conch full of the crawfish heads and fish heads that you caught the day before. Now you've got that scent, along with the juice you're putting in there, and that's down there. But again, with the current, you put it in up tide from the coral head. You want to be up tide because the scent is going to go through there. And I'm telling you, there's some big groupers. You hope you don't get into a Goliath grouper. There's some things down there you shouldn't be hooking into. I mean, maybe you can tie the 120-pound mono on a cleat and take off, but you know, you break your rod. So what the scent does is gets them away from their hole in the coral, out on the sand, and now maybe you got a chance, a fighting chance of getting them. So again, that's fishing in the current with scent. Now, I told you I was going to tell you where the salmon, where you can find those. That's Big Rock Park, Big Rock Falls, near Washburn, Wisconsin. And if you're wondering if they're coming up there or not, you can call the fishing shop called Anglers All. It's in Ashland, Wisconsin. They're a very good fish shop. You can get your Dr. Juice there, but they'll let you know what's going on in that whole Chequamegon Bay, Apostle Island area as far as fishing. And it's, you know, it's really fun watching those salmon coming up, because there's a high cliff, you can look down on them. One last tip, I didn't know if I wanted to say this, but I've got a place on a special river, and I call it the Sacred Rock. In fact, I chiseled it in there. And what this is, there's a long rapids coming up, and the fish, for the day when the sun's high, go down in this deeper hole, okay? But then it's hard to fish them at night, and maybe they're not coming up. So what you do is I drip some Dr. Juice right on the rock, the Sacred Rock, and you can see it's rainbows of biodegradable substances coming out, the scents, the pheromones, going downstream. Now, in a stream like this, it could be 4 or 5 miles an hour. Now, in 10, 15 minutes, you've stimulated fish miles down the river, and they're coming upstream to have sex, and they might say, well, wait a minute, let's go early. I'm smelling something going on upstream. I'm going to start heading up there, and so they're going to head up in the evening and get into your hole where you'll be able to catch them. So that's one last tip with using the Dr. Juice fish scent in current. So I hope these tips have helped somebody catch some more fish. We'll see you in another episode of Juice TV. Gonna get my yarn and float.